Ever since the OKC Thunder hit that big red reset button, they have been a team that's been surrounded by a lot of questions. And they have answered all of those questions and have put on a model on how to rebuild your team within the next 3 to 5 years. You have questions about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and how good he can be, even after his overall development got accelerated with Chris Paul here, and now he's an MVP candidate and putting up historic numbers for a guard on both sides of the ball. You look at this team overall and wonder how you can develop guys like Lou Dort, who is receiving massive minutes on this team, to be a championship contending role player, and now he's one of the best guard defenders in the NBA and a full-time great three-point shooter, and he doesn't feel out of place and slows down an offense anymore. You look at what are the ceiling for guys like J-Dub, and he's already a fringe all-star in his second year in the NBA. Hell, you can even look at Josh Giddey and look how good he was his first year, and give him a little bit of bly that he still developed his second year, but the OKC Thunder has hit their stride so early in his development that he's probably not ready to be a championship building block just yet, and he's just looking a little bit out of place on a team that's been way ahead of schedule but still has a ton of potential to be great in the NBA. You had questions about Chet Holmgren, and he's having a historic rookie year. You had questions about how you're going to build this team with a lot of the late first round and second round picks that you do get, and you look at guys like Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, and Jalen Williams that have all been absolutely amazing on this roster. And the last questions a lot of people have that's not being answered is, what are you going to do with all these young players on this team that isn't getting minutes and this amount of draft picks with not enough roster spots to accommodate any of them? And they trade a good amount of their young guys and release some of them and got quality veterans that can help this team be even better, like Gordon Hayward. They've answered every single question everybody's had about them, and they're hitting their stride at an amazing level. So let's talk about just how they did it and why I think a lot of concerns about them in the playoffs may not come to fruition and what their ceiling really is. Now, if we're going to talk about the OKC Thunder success, you have to start with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's also the perfect show of how quickly NBA Twitter can turn on you and how quickly they can make memes out of you for the craziest of things, as now Shai's dubbed 31-point man, as if that's not actually insane. But this season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 31.2 points, 5.6 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 2.1 steals, a block a game on 55-38 shooting splits. Not only getting back his three-point volume up a little bit and shooting almost a career best in this length of time, but having his most efficient season from the field and being a professional scorer, while also being better on the defensive end and becoming this team's full-time point guard and full-time initiator. He has been absolutely amazing this season in picking apart defenses just like he did before. As this team's gotten more success, his name has popped up more in the MVP discussion, along with guys like Nikola Jokic, Giannis, and Luka, and Joel Embiid before his injury. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander may not win that award this year, but he damn sure deserves his name to be in that mix. And honestly, there's really no question to me of who the best guard in the NBA is at this moment, unless you count Luka as a guard, even though he's the play initiator. But it's like, you have Kyrie and Tim Hardaway Jr. and those guys starting, so I count him as a 3. But in my opinion, traditional guards, there's no one better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's just hitting historic territory. Now, the only real question to me is just how far he can take them. I mean, we've seen him in the playoffs before, but that was 4 years ago. And while he was a pretty good piece of why they gave the Houston Rockets so much trouble, along with Chris Paul and Luke Kennard putting the clamps on James Harden, overall, we just haven't seen him there at his peak, and his playing games have left a lot to be desired. But he was also injured in a lot of those playing games, so you can't really hold that against him also. But his game just screams like it translates well to the playoffs. Efficient scoring ability, plays at your own pace, but can speed it up, play fast or slow. Strong body, can finish around the rim, and very adaptable in a lot of situations. Nothing about him screams playoff dropper to me, and I do think he can keep up this level of play come playoff time, and he's going to prove a lot of people why he's still the best guard in the NBA, and it's time to truly respect him. Now, while they blew the top off the expectations coming into the season last year, the OKC Thunder still had a large problem, and that was the 5 spot. And it's a large reason why they really just couldn't compete in the play-in versus teams like Minnesota that was that much bigger than them, and why even if they did make the playoffs, they probably would have gotten mopped by a team like Denver, or they faced a team like the Lakers or something like that. Just, you have not enough size to compete with the upper echelons of the bigs in the Western Conference, and that's a majority of the better teams. Chet Holmgren has come in and almost fixed that problem by his goddamn self. Now, the team still has a glaring rebounding issue, and I don't think Chet may develop into a truly elite rebounder in his career unless he puts on a little more size, and that takes away from other parts of the game. That is what makes him amazing. Overall, he's anchored this defense to a top 5 in the NBA. While he's had a lot of great point of attack defense, he has been part of the reason why they have been so great. Averaging 17.2 points, 7.8 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 2.6 blocks, and almost a steal a game on 54, 40, 79 splits. Chet Holmgren has been absolutely amazing in his rookie year. This also won't be one of the very few times we see 2 rookies make an all-defensive team, but Chet has been absolutely amazing his first year, and there's reason why he's top 5 in defensive player of the year voting, and he has been talked about so much this season. He has been one of the better offensive and defensive bigs in this game, and overall his mix of size and skill on the perimeter as a scorer and as a passer overall, which is what really surprised me first of all, and his ability to play in pick and roll with anybody and clean up a lot of mistakes has been incredible for this OKC team. And then to look on the defensive end and see just how versatile he's on that end, whether he's able to use his length and surprisingly quick and swivel hips to be able to guard certain guards at the perimeter, even the quicker ones, and still be able to play pretty good drop defense and use his length to make up for what he lacks in size against a lot of the bigs in this league. He has just been doing everything you expect of him and freaking more. And to see him be able to be this good at 21 years old and knowing what his future is, the sky's the limit for this kid, man. And the battles him and Wemby will be having in that Western Conference is going to be generational, because it looks like they hate each other genuinely, and I love the beef. I really do. And the last player in the OKC Thunder I want to give an in-depth and overall a lot of flowers to is J-Dub. 19.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 4.6 assists, 1 steal on 54% shooting, and 45% from 3 on more attempts than his rookie year. J-Dub has exploded, and for a lot of the questions when he first came into the NBA were about his ceiling and how he would be, how good he can actually be. For him to already be a fringe all-star in his second year in the NBA, even though he's 22, which, you know, is a little bit older than certain guys are at this point in their career, he is absolutely incredible on both sides of the ball. Insane finishing ability at the rim, and also finding a real good feel for the in-between area and pull-up mid-range jumpers, while still being insanely good as a catch and shooter and pull-up shooter this year from 3, even though it's been on limited volume. He's been able to be very good in the pick and roll and still be one of the best cutters and off-ball players in the NBA, using his mix of length and size to be able to be disruptive on the defensive end and dunk everything on the offensive end once he sets his foot near the restricted area. He just has a set of skills that seems to be able to develop really well next to Shai and Chet, and he understands his role and he fits so perfectly well in it. And honestly, I think he deserves a little bit more nods this year to even get a little bit of an all-star spot, but it is what it is for him. He's been absolutely amazing this year, and I just don't know what the ceiling for him anymore, because to take this type of leap from 21 to 22, while young players' growth is not linear, so he may be at this level for another year or two, I'm thinking year 5 and year 6 of this trio, and God knows how good J-Dub can get. And to see OKC finally get another trio, please don't square it up this time, and then be this good this quickly, it just feels like it was just fated for them to be this good again. And while those 3 have been great, and the main reason why this team is as good as it is, you have to look at the rest of the roster and how deep they are to see just why they are as successful as they are. Luke Dort has been put in the perfect offensive role for him. He's had his offensive role tapered back from years previous, and that's because Chet's been inserted and J-Dub's ascension. But with that being said, Luke Dort has been one of the better 3-and-D players the league has to offer. He's tapered back his 3-point attempts from years previous and has been taking a lot more open and a lot more high quality shots, and that has led to him becoming a 40% 3-point shooter and one of the best guard defenders in the NBA. Keaton Wallace in his first year in the NBA has been uber efficient as a shooter and has been the same dog defensively he was at Kentucky. And you just look at him and realize that if he was on any other team where he's getting a lot more offensive responsibility in minutes, he may not be as efficient, but damn, he would have a lot more buzz about him. Like guys like Isaiah Joe, who could be the answer to a lot of this OKC team's problems, but has been amazing in his role off the bench as a shooter, and overall has been pretty good as a defender this season also. I would say just he's exceeded expectations as a defender this season. Guys like Aaron Wiggins has been perfect coming off the bench for this team and has been pretty okay as a shooter. Obviously, it's not on a lot of attempts, but he's been a great defender and overall just a great player to have in this roster since earned a lot of his minutes. Same thing with Kendrick Williams, one of the better role players, and I think last year he was one of the best rebounders on this team, and while his minutes have been tapered back because of a lot of the ascension on this team and new players, overall he's still been great in his minutes. And then also just using your draft capital and young players that really weren't getting minutes on this team to pull in guys like Gordon Hayward, who as a scorer hasn't been crazy good and efficient for this team as of yet, but he is still a very quality NBA player, a quality scorer, and overall is just a pretty smart NBA player and can just provide a lot of this team's answer and maturity that people are looking for them. Overall, this team has just been incredibly deep in performing on an extremely high level, and there's a reason why they're first seed in the NBA this year. Now, this team does have its issues. They are horrifically bad at rebounding. Like, there's nobody on this team that averages over 8 rebounds a game, and that is their biggest Achilles heel and the biggest worry for a lot of people in the NBA about what they could do in the playoffs when they go against, obviously, teams like Minnesota, if the Lakers make it in, with Anthony Davis, overall, with guys like Nikola Jokic there. The Western Conference just has a lot of really, really good big men. Hell, even the Sacramento team that has guys like Domantas Sabonis that is a dog on the glass. It's just whenever you find a quality big, which is almost every team in the Western Conference, you're going to need to be able to at least rebound to a certain level, and that's a big concern for a lot of people, and it is a concern for me. But this team's also so amazingly efficient on the offensive end and has such great transition defense that honestly I wouldn't be too worried about it in the earlier rounds. But it's part of the reason why a lot of people don't think that they can really make it to the NBA Finals, and even if they do, you're going to run into a team like Boston, a team like Miami, a team like Milwaukee, all great rebounding teams. And the other problem is their starting shooting guard, Josh Giddey. Now, with all the controversy around his name this year, Josh Giddey hasn't been the most favorite NBA player of a lot of people, but I'm not here to talk about that. He's seemingly taken a step back in his development, and I don't like to look at it like that. He's went from 16 points per game to 11 this year, but his offensive role has been very diminished, and he's getting a lot less minutes, and obviously there's reasons why. His three-point shot just isn't developed enough to be effective at the NBA level right now, and I do think he was developing on a pretty nice pace from his rookie year to his second year, but I think OKC has exploded and has exceeded expectations so fast that his now development is not in line with this team's trajectory anymore, and you're going to need to give him another year or two before he's completely locked in as a part of this team's future. And while that's a little bit disappointing and people talk about trading him, maybe you like to hold your horses a little bit, but then again, you don't want to take the chances of really anything crazy happening, because there's a lot of things that can happen that can close the team's championship window like that. But just the way teams guard him and just how bad he's been both on the offensive and defensive end this season. And while OKC has had a positive net rating with him on the court, you switch him out for Isaiah Joe, and while it's been significantly less minutes and less of a sample size, just the look of it overall and the numbers just back it up that it's 10 times better, which is part of the reason why his minutes have diminished the way that they have. Overall, I just think it's a little bit too much on Josh Giddey as a basketball player. Nothing else. I think you give him a little bit more time to develop. And then the last issue people may have is this team's youth and age. Championship cores and championship teams have all had one thing in common, and the fact that they have been relatively middle of the pack to older teams. The youngest average age of any team to win a championship in the past, I think 15 years, is the Denver Nuggets last year at 27.6. The OKC Thunder's average age is 23.8. This team is extremely young and extremely inexperienced in the NBA playoffs. And it's a setting that a lot of people think that when you hit the upper echelons and really, really talented and experienced teams is where that experience starts to really show, and the lack thereof becomes an issue. Now, I will not say that that's not an issue, but the OKC Thunder have been one of the best fast break offenses, transition offenses, half-court offenses in the NBA, and they've been one of the better perimeter defending teams, at the rim defending teams, transition defending teams. Everything you name it, this team has been pretty good, and the real area that has been battering them is that rebounding. They have all the tools to be great. They have all the tools to beat anybody they come against, and while they may face problems, I think putting a little bit of a, rope on what this team can accomplish because of their age is a little bit too much. I do think this team has a chance to do something amazing, and we've seen young teams like the OKC Thunder of the big three previous with KD, James Harden, and Russ. They were extremely young when they made the finals too, and the only reason they lost is because they went up against a goddamn juggernaut. Then again, you have a juggernaut out there out east in the Boston Celtics that may be just as good, if not better, than that Heat team. So we may have to reassess a lot of those things, but overall I just don't think you put a real expectation or lack of expectation or that much of a ceiling on what this OKC team can accomplish because of their age. Now, where do I see this team really ending up? With the amazing coaching of Mark Dagnall and just overall just effective and great their players are this year, I wouldn't be surprised if they do something incredible and make their way to the NBA Finals. But realistically, with everybody in the Western Conference and how well everybody's playing, I can see a conference finals berth from this team. I don't think that that is out of the question for them at all. Honestly, it may be a little bit disappointing if they don't make it to at least the conference finals this year. You look at a road that would see maybe Dallas, maybe Golden State, maybe Los Angeles, or maybe Phoenix, all teams that they should be able to easily beat. And then a second round matchup that may be between the New Orleans Pelicans or Sacramento Kings or Los Angeles Clippers, depending on how the bracket goes. I'm not gonna lie to you, they have the tools to beat every single one of those teams, while the only team that could probably really give them any trouble out of those would be the Los Angeles Clippers, and I would think the Clippers probably would stay out of OKC's range. So most likely you're looking at a conference finals berth for this team at the very least, with just how good they are. But overall, they've been a joy to watch this year, and to see them get a new big three that is just as amazing as the one previous, and just doing so many historic things, and just looking like the NBA is in fantastic hands. It's just been great to watch this team this year, to see their growth for the past 3 years. I've been following them for a while, and it just warms my heart to see how good they've gotten so quickly. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. We're going to be covering a lot more of the championship contenders in videos like these. We did the Miami Heat, my favorite team, and the French contender Miami in the NBA a couple days ago. So if you want to go check out that video, it's probably right here, but we'll be doing a couple more of them in the next coming week. So with that being said, this is FLB. That is my time, and I'm out.